Kate and I'm coming to you from Berlin in Germany. Welcome to my 1940s vintage knit episode. This episode is a long time coming. I have wanted to make this twin set for a long time, but the pattern is, put it here, the pattern is 8 stitches per 1 inch, so 32 stitches in 10 centimeters, which is tiny, tiny, tiny. And I was not looking forward to an all-over stockinette cardigan and then an all-over stockinette t-shirt, all done by hand. So I've been putting it off, and then of course my knitting machine. Have you missed it? I have talked about my knitting machine in every episode. I know, I am in love. I promise I will do more videos with actual hand knitting, but at the moment I am enjoying the excitement that is my knitting machine. I do a lot of hand knitting on the garments that I'm making, this one included, so it's not like every single thing is done on the machine. It's just I'm enjoying this liberating feeling of wanting to do something and then being able to do it within a month or 2 instead of like 6. So that is today's video. So the yarn I'm going to use is this woolly knit cone. If you've been here probably even since the beginning, I have mentioned this yarn several times and I could just never find the right project for the yarn. It's very thin yarn, it's light fingering weight, and I found it quite difficult to knit the projects I wanted to knit because it's not fantastic with colour work or texture, but it works really well held double. But I never have any patterns. I never wanted to make any patterns that held the yarn double. So I knew at some point this yarn would find its life's purpose, and eventually it has. So spoiler alert, I've already made the project. As per usual, I forgot to do the intro before starting the project. I just get really excited and then start the project. And I use my phone and I film little bits and pieces that I'm doing, and then when it comes to piecing everything together, I can't remember what I said, what I didn't say, and then I just repeat everything, and then when I watch everything back on the computer, I'm like, oh, I've already said that, oh, I've already said that, or I forgot this major important thing. One being, pretty sure I have not mentioned the wool I'm using at any point. So I will do that now in its small size. That doesn't make sense. Smaller size. This was a full cone. It now looks like this. So as you can see, it is a stunning colour. I am so in love with this colour. Do you have a colour name? No. I will try and put the colourway down below in the description. This is a yarn that, if you've been here a while, you will have heard me talk about it multiple times and my conundrum about what and how to use it. It's a beautiful yarn. It's British breeds, so it's a mixture of British breeds. It smells incredibly sheepy and it's very, very thin. And I have made a couple of projects using this, and because it's so thin you have to either use very small needles to make a garment or whatever it is you make, or you could hold it with mohair, or you could hold it double. But I haven't had any projects that I wanted to make that would need it held double. So it's just sat there in my stash, patiently waiting. And now I have found its life's purpose: vintage knitwear. So that is what I used, and a cream, which is down there, but it's in a plastic bag. I don't really want to rustle that around and annoy you, so you'll see it momentarily in the videos. So I will let you watch all the footage, and then I will meet you back at the end. this? I have no idea. It says to cast off for the pocket and then add the pocket, and it has purl to cast off stitches. Yeah, that makes 0 sense. So I'm just making it up, and it says to put the pocket flap into place of the cast off stitches, which were these. So let's hope that it works. Obviously the knitting is facing, like the knit side is that way. I'm always looking at the wrong side, so I'm putting it in front of it and hoping that is correct. I get the feeling I should have done like a 3 needle bind off or something. That's just construction outside, because there's a hole. And these are fake pockets. Equally, I am thinking maybe I should make them real pockets, because there's a hole now, and that's the flap. But I did think about picking up and hanging them on here, but obviously I bound them off, so it's not that easy anymore. I should have maybe left them on waste yarn and then hung them up. Maybe I'll do that on the other side. I'm just going to ignore it for now and come back to it later. At the time of making this, it made a lot of sense. Now I'm looking at that thinking how bizarre. I think that's right. The instructions were very confusing to me. My pocket looks hilarious because it's gone all squishy. I definitely needed to seam them together as I went, so hopefully I'll remember to do that on the other side. Yes, so this is the band that runs along, which normally you wouldn't have double of. But obviously, the button band, it's just missing out words here. Yeah, normally you wouldn't have it double, but obviously with my mock rib, I have to do that. And then it kind of goes up, and what I realized was that there is no added neckband. So I think this will then go around, and the other side will have the same, and I think it's right. Optimistic thoughts. Thought I was so close, and I completely misread my horrendous notes and missed out about 20 rows. And now I have to rip back all down to here. And although it doesn't look like a lot, it's actually the painstaking process of individually putting each needle back on the machine that takes the longest time. This is fast enough to undo. Obviously, you just take it off the machine, but in individually putting 104 stitches back on, just, yeah. And sleeve number 2 commencing. The original video went down the toilet, so I'm going to add in a little bit of footage just to explain what I was trying to explain in that video, which will never come to light. So I'm going to use that footage, which has nothing to do with this sock, but it is to explain a little bit more about the machine. Because a lot of you have been reaching out to me to try and give me some helpful advice, which, as much as I appreciate, it doesn't work with this type of machine. So I wanted to add some footage to explain why that is so. Because this is not the regular, like, I was going to say modern machine, but even from the 60s, I think, this style of machine changed. So it does not use weights, it does not use combs or cast-on combs, anything like that. It uses a different mechanism, which I will show you now. So these things are the sinkers, and focus. They move when I move the machine along, and they push all this fabric down, so it goes like it is. I can't explain it anymore, but basically I do not need combs. It has this very fun system that I didn't know was unique until I learnt that other machines do not have this. So you have to hook the yarn under the sinker and then lay it over the needles. So it doesn't have any tensioning rod either, that's another thing. No tensioning rod with this machine, it's all by hand. And then on the other side of the machine, you also hook it under. So that's why it's not like the machines you'll see nowadays if you look at a knitting machine, where people just do this and the fabric grows. This is all individually hand placed and hand hooked underneath. Like so. Hello, so this is the love and dedication that I have towards you all because it is 34 degrees today and I'm not only going to wear this wool t-shirt but another wool cardigan on top. But I just wanted to show you the part of the Twinset that I didn't knit for this project specifically, although originally it was supposed to be the t-shirt. If you watched the video, which I will link somewhere here, I originally went to make this as the t-shirt, then discovered that instead of doing 2 rows of the bands, I did 4. Yes, I did 4 rows instead of 2 of each. So I then just decided I would knit the whole thing as a 1950s tee. But then when I went to do this Twinset, I thought I don't really need 2 of the exact, it's not exact. I don't really need 2 t-shirts that look quite similar immediately. I may do it in the autumn, I may do it next year. Basically, I just thought I don't need 2 of them right now. So I have accidentally cheated by not doing the complete Twinset all at once, but alas, no one cares. So I don't mind having this one as my my Twinset piece. But for now, this is what we have. So I can never quite fit myself into the shot. It's never enough space. So I will now go and show you the cardigan and how it looks. What do you think? Do you like it? As you will have seen in the video, I did not make the t-shirt part yet. Although I wanted to make the Twinset, I originally went to make the t-shirt by hand a few months ago actually, and then I realised that I had misread the pattern and I made the stripes thicker. But I really like that t-shirt. So I figured I already have a t-shirt that is almost the same. I might as well just wear that for now, and then at some point I'll make the t-shirt that goes with this specific pattern, because I do have some yarn left over. If for some reason I want to use the yarn for something else, I will, but at the moment I'm quite content using that t-shirt as the Twinset together with this, because it's the same yarn and it's still stripes. And I have at the moment got a situation where I'm really struggling with setting in the sleeves. I know theoretically how to do it, but in practice it takes a lot of practice, and I actually want to make sleeves that are more like this one where there's no poof, or 40's shoulder. I just want a normal set in sleeve, and I cannot for the life of me get the sleeves to go in without excess fabric, and it's driving me crazy. So if any of you have any tips or advice about what I am potentially doing wrong, please let me know in the comments or send me a message on Instagram, because I would really like to know how to deal with this. I just want sleeves that literally set in all the way around without having to mess around with gathering and ruffling and Speaking of which, let us get into the itty gritties of the cardigan. So here it is in this amazing colour. So I will just start with the sleeves because I'm just talking about them, the sleeve heads. These drove me insane. These took me hours and hours, and they're still not perfect, but they're perfect enough. In the pattern, as you will have seen, I got very confused because it said, like, for the front of the cardigan and the back, this had to be something like 7.5 inches from here to here, and then when I made the sleeves you had to knit 4.5 or something, 4 3/4, and then I only needed like 1 inch and a bit. So I thought, how are they ever going to fit? Turns out, after asking for a little bit of help in a Facebook group where I got this pattern, it's closed, so sorry, I cannot send you that direction because they're not accepting any new members. But the members that were on there helped me and said, don't worry, like, trust the pattern, it will work. Eventually the width of the sleeve head will fill in that 7.5 inch length. Does that make sense? And it did, but oh, the finagling that went on. So it doesn't say that it's a puffed sleeve, and it doesn't look like a puffed sleeve in the picture, but of course it's a vintage pattern, so you get one photo at one angle and that's it. You never see anything else, nothing close up, and they just say set in sleeve. So I first thought there would be no poof because, yeah, you can't see it in the picture and it didn't look like it would even fit. But then as I was seaming it in, I saw that there is excess fabric and I don't know what to do with it, because I think I've done it twice. On the last row of the sleeve, just before you bind off, you knit 2 together and it will naturally create the poof. But with this one it was done on the machine and I didn't know about it having a poof, so I just bound off. And although theoretically I could have gone back and undone the bind off and then redone it, at the point where that was being considered, I had already spent 2 days trying to set these sleeves in. I mean, it wasn't from 8 AM to 8 PM all day, but the amount of time you spend seaming in these tiny, tiny stitches, individually hand seaming, and then ripping back because it doesn't fit, then reorganizing, redoing. I tried to do a square. I tried to tuck it in on the inside and just set it in. I tried to do a poof and it didn't work. Eventually I used some spare thread, some spare yarn, and just went through like every 5 stitches, like like that, and pulled it like you would in sewing when you put a basting stitch and make really big stitches and then pull it so the fabric gathers in. I did that and then seamed it in and then pulled them a bit tighter and sewed the ends in, and I really hope that works. As I said, they're not like the best, they're not super even, they're like this one, there's more on this side than in the middle or over here, but I don't care. It's done. The other thing about this cardigan, it's not 100% finished. I may have said it, you may have noticed. I don't have buttons. There is a reason for this. In the pattern, there's no button band attached separately. It's kind of within here. So in the pattern, you have about 9 stitches and you do increases or decreases up here. This is a button band in itself, but it's in stockinette. But you are supposed to do a buttonhole like at the end, say 2 stitches away from the end, and then knit about 5 stitches or something like that, and then do another one, so that at the end you fold it and those holes will meet, and then you'll sew them together. So it would actually be folded and the buttonholes would be there. I tried to do a buttonhole on my machine and I had not done it before and it went horribly wrong, and then I realised after spending about 2 or 3 hours, I think it was, I had to rip back and fix this chaotic mess I'd created. I basically bound off stitches and then forgot to recast them on, and it all the fabric above just unraveled, and it was a nightmare and it was very stressful. Then I thought, I don't even know how to do this. Like, I don't know how it's gonna fit, and these buttonholes are enormous on the machine and this is stressful. I'm not going to do it. I decided I'd worry about it later. Then when later came, I thought, how does anybody add a buttonhole after you've knitted the whole thing? So what I've decided is I'm going to try and do a crochet loop for each hole instead of doing a hole. I would say this doesn't work. There. Hole instead of doing a hole, and do it that way and hope that works. If it doesn't, I'll leave it without buttons, and then maybe in the future I want to say steek them, but that's not quite right. I can cut holes and reinforce them. It's just, it's not as easy as a button band because you need to do these two buttonholes and fold and seam, and I'm not comfortable enough, and I really don't want to do that and destroy the entire cardigan for a buttonhole. It's just not worth it. So hopefully the crochet loop will work. If you have any other suggestions, do let me know. I am open. I haven't started doing any kind of surgery or additional stuff, so oops. The neck is a bit weird, but it didn't say what to do for the neck. If you saw the pictures, the pattern pieces just have this really weird long bit at the top, and you do like kitchen them together and then attach them to the cardigan at the back. But it just says seam neck. I've never done that, so the seaming's not great, but I don't know. I don't think I can always undo it and redo it, but I don't like seaming, and I've done a lot of seaming recently. So I may come back to it and just make it a bit neater later, but at the moment it's fine. If you saw the pockets in the video, I did end up just seaming them together, seaming the big hole that was there. In the picture of the original, I like her pockets more because they're longer, like rectangular and flat, because she's just done, I say she like the model sat there and knitted it. The knitter has just made it knit one, purl one, and it's flat and it looks nice. Mine is obviously on the machine, and as you've seen, I can't do rib on this machine. I have to do mock rib, so you knit it and then fold it up so it makes it squishy and really thick, which is very nice for like a cuff or a neckband or something, but it doesn't quite work how I wanted it here. I have tried stretching it when I was blocking it, but didn't really block out as much as I wanted it to. But again, all of these things are just things I've noticed that if I could, I would change, but it's not a game changer. No, it's not a deal breaker. It's not the end of the world. It's just little things that I would change if I could. What else did I want to mention? I made a mistake when I was doing the sleeves, and I did the ribbing on tension 3 and then I forgot to change to tension 4 until about here. And the weird thing is I remember changing the tension, so I get this feeling like I went from tension 3, put it up to tension 4, got up, got some tea or something, came back and thought, right, change the tension, and I must have changed it back to tension 3 because I even wrote down on my notepad T4, like I know to do that. So I think I must have done that because, yeah. So it's super tight. I have really thin wrists and this is really tight. So I would say even if I hadn't done the tension wrong, it would still be really tight because this is really tight. And it was only something like 56 stitches, which is not very many. So I think it would have been tight anyway, but yeah, now it's just really tight. So I'm going to spend every time I wash this just stretching it a little bit. And what else? Is there anything else? I did, as you may have noticed, I did use my sewing machine to seam this together. There are several reasons. Number one, before I started knitting, I crocheted, and I had to give up crochet because it gave me such horrendous hand pain. So it just went out of the window because every time I would hold a crochet hook, I just get immediate pain. So I stopped. So seaming, when I was seaming with a crochet hook, and it was so much better and easier than with a needle, but it doesn't take long for the pain to hit. So I then went back to trying to seam with needle and thread, but it does take significantly longer than a crochet hook. And if you're doing you're 2 stitches on one side, 2 stitches on the other, 2, 2, and you go backwards and forwards over there. This many stitches takes an incredibly long time. And I thought, I have beautiful jumpers that are, I don't think they're hand knitted. I've got Irish Aran jumpers, and they're full of cables. They're probably done on a machine, and then they're sewn together with a machine. And I thought, why don't I just do that? I don't know why I'm insisting on hand seaming everything when it keeps going wrong and it's painful and stresses me out. I could just use my sewing machine like I would sew fabric together. So I did. So it's all, can you even see? All of my seaming that I have done by hand has been a bit dodge. It's okay, it's not awful, but it's not beautiful, and they all give you a big seam on the inside. So since I've been using my knitting machine, I've been seaming a lot, and every type of seam gives me a very thick seam. So I figured I'll get that with sewing machine, I'll get that by hand, I'll get that by needle, I'll get that by crochet, hook, whatever I do, it will be there. So I decided I'd use my sewing machine. It was great. It has pulled in the fabric a little bit on one of the sides of the body, but I don't know if it's the machine or just me, because my yellow top and my pink one also have a bit of a strange, it's at the shaping part that goes in like this. It looks a bit weird. So I'm hoping just with wear it will start to soften and drape a bit more and get a bit more comfortable with its seamed self. But I haven't worn this yet because it's summer. It's 26 degrees in this room and it's hotter outside. So I don't need to wear wool yet. So I will see during the autumn and winter how it feels, how it wears, and I will report back to you how it holds up. And if I notice that the seams are causing havoc in any way, but it was great to do them, because then it gave me 2 days to hand sew with a needle and thread these shoulders. I tried so many different techniques. So I would say that is everything I want to say about it. So thank you very much for watching. If you want to watch any of my other videos, I have done a few on 1940s and 1950s cardigans, jumpers, hats, so they will be linked in various places. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps my channel, and I really appreciate every single one of you that have been subscribing and liking and commenting. It is wonderful. Thank you very much. So I will see you in my next video, which will hopefully be going up soon once I have figured out how to put everything together. That will make more sense in the video, the next video. So I will see you then. Bye!